Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Harley Owens, yes, once again, you have found your way into the Fox Den and awoken me from my slumber for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. I do appreciate you stopping in and having some more imperative information for us to learn. Absolutely delicious. Even I do need to feed sometimes, and even I become weak if I am malnourished. Without further ado, it is time for the Midnight Society and myself to take a walk into the darkness.
Blow, cracks, shadows morph, fangs pierce, beasts reborn, fury rise, health ignites, burdens raise, endless nights.
When I looked into the eyes of this Dogman, there was nothing. This thing was an apex predator.
My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back once again to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. This is the home and the stomping ground of the Midnight Society. Harley Owens is stopping in tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy as we sit around the fire and burn the late night timber in an attempt to figure out what the heck is happening across the United States. Harley, how you been, man?
Oh man, first off, I just can't thank everybody enough for the thoughts and the prayers, especially for me here in East Tennessee. Not just me, but the community itself here in East Tennessee and Western North Carolina. Hurricane Helene left her mark. Still so many missing. Still so many people trying to rebuild, and if it's a horrible mess out here. And it's glad to be back here on Midnight Lycanthropy, and just looking forward to making it week by week by week on here as a co-host. And I just can't, like I say, I just can't thank everybody enough for the thoughts and the prayers, because it's been rough.
Yeah, it's brutal stuff, man, and I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're still popping around. You can only do what you can, and no, I appreciate it, man. No worries, dude. There's definitely things that occur in life that are more important and imperative to deal with and a podcast and such. So I'll always be here, man, but definitely always good to sit down with you and link up, and I do look forward to jamming out some more content for sure. And tonight, before I actually send some interesting stuff that you must have heard of down in your area, you recently have been out casting and doing all kinds of interesting stuff. If you would like to tell the audience what's up with that, man, that's cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this past Saturday, October the 19th, third Saturday of October, it's always the day that Tennessee plays Alabama. I'm just going to say that, and I'm just going to say go Vols. They beat Alabama. So good old Rocky Top. So I wasn't even watching the game. I was out in the woods with my good friends, Rick and Steven. They came down from Virginia, and they started coming down here with me after I had my first encounter with the Dogman back in January 29th. If you haven't seen that episode, I highly recommend you find that on Kenny's channel here. So going into Saturday, I'm gonna talk about this on here. I was initially gonna go out on Friday, but I had several different people calling me, and some of these people didn't know each other, and they were like, "Are you in the woods?" And I said, "No," and they're like, "Well, I had a vision of you being attacked by a dog man." I'm just like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." I said, "What now?" They said, "Yeah, you were attacked." I'm just like, "Okay." So that was a real kind of nerve wracking moment. Whether you lean towards more of these things as a supernatural entity or a physical creature, and everybody has the right to their own opinion. Now, it had me sketched out, and like the description were so similar between each different person's vision, and it was like almost down to a T. And I'm just like, this is scary. So I didn't even go Friday. But the most important thing about it was that I was by myself. Now, 99.9% of the time, I'm out there by myself anyway. My normal guys that normally come with me from North Carolina, they can't get over here now because Interstate 40 is completely gone, and they're having to rebuild that. So it would take hours for them to come around here anyway. Um, and then they're the only other ones that I've got too, but they live like 5.5, 6 hours away. I went out Saturday. I had my head on a swivel. I was nervous, not gonna lie. But it was good to have them there with me. We were armed and all that. Because nobody should go unarmed out there into the woods. These things are unpredictable. So we go out and we start hiking along the trail. We get up to the creek, and I'm like, okay, because from the flood that had just hit, the bank, the rock, everything has washed out, and there's these sandbars and this real soft ground now from where all this flood has just changed the landscape. And we're walking along across the creek, and in one of these sandbars, I actually see what looks to be a juvenile Bigfoot footprint. Now, this one was real small. It was about 8 inches. It was a little over 4 inches across at the toes and like 2 and 3/4 inches at the heel. So it wasn't even castable, really. You could just see where it stepped, and you could see the outline of the heel and the toes. And there wasn't really no detail in the toes, so I didn't even try casting it. I do have a 3D scan of it, though, and it turned out really good. I highly recommend any researcher out there check out Polycam 3D. It's a 3D scanner app, and it's super simple and easy to use. So as I'm sitting there looking at this little track, my buddy Rick hollers at me. He said, "Harley, come here and look at this." So I turned around, and it literally wasn't even 5 feet away from me, and I see it, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" I mean, it's plain as day. The depth of this track was 2 inches deep. So that's a lot of weight for something to leave a print that's 2 inches deep. And this track was very, very fresh. This track was 15 inches long, 8 inches across at the toes, and four and 4.5, 4 3/4 inches at the heel. I was so nervous, because every time that I've tried to cast a track that I've found, they've broke. But my buddy Rick has this material that's it's very, very stout stuff, and it's hard as a rock. It's not like this plaster of Paris junk or anything like that. So it was a very long hour wait on this track to cast. Now I was just sitting there. I was so nervous and so anxious. I was like, "Holy cow! I hope this thing comes out good." And I'm just sitting there. I'm anxious, and I'm just like, "Okay, it's time." So I hand Rick my knife. I got a 12-inch knife that I handed him. I said, "All right, here you go." And he took the knife around the outline of it, and he was working it around real slow, trying to get it out. And then I heard it just, and I was like, "Oh boy!" Like it had popped loose. And so I'm like, okay. And he pulled it up out of the ground, and it was just so perfect. And I was like, this is unbelievable. So we took it to the creek. We washed it off best we could, and we headed back out. So now what I'm going to do is in this area, I'm going to walk all of this stretch of creek now, because where the floodwaters has changed the environment, there's going to be more tracks left by more creatures, so to speak. Now I may be able to look up and find a Dogman track or two, so that's what I'm hoping for anyway. But the process, people don't understand the process of cleaning and upkeeping these tracks. I cleaned it 2 hours. So I got home at 6 o'clock on Saturday. I cleaned it for 2 hours, and I was like, you know what? I need a break. So I went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and I started cleaning it again. It's just very, very tedious work, but in the end, you can see so much detail. This track is so unique. It's got a very, very skinny heel, and then it gets thicker. The foot gets thicker up towards the toes, and it's got a very, very distinct mid-tarsal break. So this track that I found is very, very, very unique. And the way it was kind of the print was kind of on an incline, and where it stepped, it kind of slid. So I mean, it's a very, very unique track, and I'm very fortunate that I have this, and it's the first in my collection.
That's great stuff, man. And I can only imagine because our tracker, Brother Nature and Nooksium, I mean, dude, the guy's got so many tracks he's trying to get caught up on for cleaning them off. And he set them all out on a table before. I got to give kudos to anybody out there that can look at a track and a casting. I mean, obviously some look, really good that are in the hands of people, that are pretty high up, things on like History Channel I've seen, etc. But a lot of times, like with Nooksium, he's able to look at the casting. And to me, I'm just like, what? I can't really see anything. Yet he's able to totally clarify when it stepped down or where it pushed off, like distribution. So no, it's really totally interesting. And to make yourself feel a little bit better, dude, Dogman and even Werewolves, man, are both able to be unalived. I mean, Paratus and Cessius and all the people back then that were dealing with them, Jason and the Argonauts, they said you can dispose of a cynocephaly, aka a dogman, with cold steel sword. I mean, yeah, they are stronger than the average person and hellacious fighters, but they can be disposed of. And same thing with werewolves. I mean, they can be disposed of as well. But I would like to tell everyone out there, man, I don't really know anything about guns. I can obviously shoot one from when I was a child and stuff, being taught. I have some friends that are former special forces and still currently kind of, dive into some of that stuff, have some sick weaponry, but it's legit, like they said, as well as what I would say to anyone out there, man. If something's coming towards you, okay, I don't know anything about hunting, man, but I'm saying if your life is in jeopardy, whether it's a massive grizzly bear, a velociraptor, a dogman, or a moose. All right, I'm just throwing out examples here. You don't shoot in the shoulder, you don't shoot in the chest, you go for the head. I don't understand
Exactly right.
why, yeah, people don't totally get that. I mean, we're not talking about a cheese zombie horror movie here where apparently everyone just shoots for every other body part but the head. It's like that old saying, man, you want to stop a snake, you take the head off. So, yeah,
Exactly right.
if a cynocephaly or a dogman was coming at you and you had a bow and arrow or you have a musket or you have a semi or automatic weapon, you aim for the head, man. So to anyone out there, yes, just realize that a mountain lion's coming at you. Same thing, man. Why are you shooting at the shoulders and such? Aim for the head. Good night.
Exactly right, and that's the biggest thing, and ultimately, I personally would not shoot a Bigfoot, but if it came down to it, that's ultimately where I'm shooting is the head. I mean, much less a dog man too. I'm aiming for the head. Um, Now I have heard stories, especially from the Daniel Boone account, from where I don't know if you're familiar with this story, but Daniel Boone, he shot a Bigfoot. It was attacking his son. It kept body slamming his son. He seen it body slam his son 2 times, and it was about to do it a third time. And he shot and from 70 yards away. He shot it. He shot it in the head, and that he was doing like an autopsy on this thing. And he said that the chest of this thing was nothing but just solid bone, like
Hmm.
a bullet couldn't penetrate it. So I ultimately think that the skeletons of these creatures are much, much more. adapted for, tough conflict.
Make 100% sense. I mean, it's no different than Denisovians and Neanderthals. I mean, Neanderthals were shorter, stockier, stronger. So basically, I guess the comparison of, say, a power lifter or something, and the Denisovians were taller, lankier, built more like, say, a European soccer player or something. So when it came to certain scenarios, yeah, quarter close hand-to-hand combat, the Neanderthal was stronger, but it didn't have the range of motion to be able to do certain things like reach fully over its head or do certain things that the Denisovian could have with pulling back bows more. And also, the Denisovians were faster. The Neanderthals were bigger, but they had issues with walking through areas with snow and high grass and mud because they had short, kind of stocky legs. Whereas the Denisovians were taller and lankier. They were built and evolved in the environments of snow and such. So they had to be able to obviously make their way through. Of course, I mean, same thing with animals in general as well. You have certain animals that are, yeah, black bear's pretty dominant still, but Kodiak bear is more dominant, and then arguably a polar bear is just as dominant, if not more dominant than the Kodiak bear. But if you look at the skeletal systems, they all tend to just keep kind of moving upwards from the black bear. He definitely is really intriguing, and I could see what he said. If something is existing, whether it's you or I, a crocodile, a 25-foot great white shark, a massive moose, it doesn't matter, a dogman that's eating something that right in front of you just took your pet. It doesn't matter. If it's in this realm, it can be disposed of, whether it's the cynocephali or, like I said, a massive tiger coming at you. Yet you go for the head, boom, good night. I mean, I also think too, a lot of times, though, people that are going out there that are just normal hunters that are using lower caliber weaponry, they don't want to necessarily damage what it is that they're tracking, whether, there's numerous reasons. So they're not really having proper weaponry. Whereas like my buddies, Cryptid Warfare, like Drewski and Jessica Jones, like they all got like straight up dope
Assault weapon.
semi-automatic. Yeah, man, and like automatic weaponry, bro. Meaning, in one of the instances where Drewski and some of his buddies were being basically surrounded by something throughout the night, they were fully stocked up, man. And they, as well as myself, are pretty optimistic that if they got a clean sight on what it is they were going to shoot, they would light those things up, dude. So, yeah, if we're talking about something like a hellhound or something that's not fully in this realm or a ghost, yeah, you're not doing damage to it unless you're like a ghostbuster. And I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, unless you're a ghostbuster with a plasma, rifle and such, you're not going to do any damage to it. Whereas, yeah, if it's sitting here ripping things apart, it touches you, it cuts you and such, yeah, you can blow it up too, man. I mean, it's just the law of physics.
You're absolutely right there. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Now, like here's an instance for me. Uh, these things, they know that you know. So what I mean by that is when you open your perception to what is actually happening in this world, you realize that the world is a lot bigger than what it actually is. Now, I don't go out there and I don't see them every time that I go out there, and that's a big misconception from a lot of people. You don't always see things or hear things all the time. It's every other time or maybe a month or two. I mean, it spans out over time. And what I mean by they know that you know, and when I seen my first one in 2020, I went 3 years without hunting and fishing. Then Thanksgiving of 2023, I started back hunting again. Overcame what I thought was a fear of these things. And then December 7th, I started research, December 7th, 2023. And then, like a week after I started my research, I had my second encounter. Then I had my third encounter, January 7th, and with George Lunsford. Uh, and then I didn't have another encounter with a Bigfoot until June. So it's hit or miss. I mean, you don't go out there and see these things every single time. Now, the Dogman, I seen my first one January 29th, and then April 28th, I went turkey hunting with my stepdaughter's dad, and we were being stalked by one of these things, and I initially thought it was a Bigfoot. Not gonna lie. And then I turned around and I took 3 pictures, and then in the middle picture, I got it. What looks to be a pit bull like large creature. So like these things know that you know of their existence, and if you know if you're closed minded and you don't believe in these things, they're probably not going to have any interest in you unless they see you as a snack.
Man, that's some nightmare fuel right there, dude. And preach, bro. So next, with all the displacement and destruction that's going on down there, I've had a couple people, again, I don't know these individuals, they just popped up. I don't even know how the heck I got added to these chats, dude, to be quite honest with you. So I ended up leaving a bunch of them because, dude, my phone just blows up anyhow. So, but either way, I was in this chat with somebody that claimed, and other people then chimed in, supposedly working with this person when they're out trying to retrieve some of the missing people and going into some of the areas that have been destroyed, etc., that they have been hearing like strange noises and howls and such in the night, and that some of the bodies they found seem to have been ravaged by some sort of wild animal, which, I mean, again, there's wild animals everywhere, so I don't know how that necessarily classifies as a cryptid, because people don't realize, dude, your pet house cat, I mean, unfortunately, hopefully no one ever experiences this, but if you pass away in your house with just your cat starts consuming you eventually too, licking your eyeballs and such, man. I mean, and this is your cat that was your friend. So more or less, what I'm trying to say is animals, no matter what, are going to consume things. I mean, my pet squirrel, bet you a lot of people don't know this, man. She eats eggshells. She loves to chew on the marrow of bones. I mean, mostly she likes to eat nuts and fruits and such, but also there's even videos of deer and things eating baby rabbits because obviously they were depleted in some sort of calcium or protein aspects, and that's supposed to be a herbivore. And that's just what I'm saying. Animals tend to prey on things, but I guess I wanted to know your thoughts on if you've heard about any of those things and if you think potentially they have been displaced as well. But if they're in the cave systems, they probably didn't even care, I guess.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up. I think that these things ultimately knew that it was going to storm and whatnot, and they prepared themselves for it. Like I was gone for a little over a week, and I came back home, and then the hurricane hit here September 27th. We left that day to go to Middle Tennessee. I got back and I went out October 5th, and I didn't know if the area was going to be fine or not, and luckily it was. But other than the creek being washed out and the banks and stuff, but that's when I found the 20-inch long, 12-inch across at the toes, and it was 8 inches at the heel. That was a huge track. I'll have to send you the picture of it so you can have it on here. That was just a confirmation for me that these things know when severe weather is going to hit, and they adapt and overcome. Now, along with what you said about the people being eat on and stuff, the soul situation is a lot worse than what the media is portraying it as. The actual number that I know, my neighbor's brother has actually been over there helping restoring the cleanup and stuff in North Carolina. The approximate actual missing number in North Carolina is 13,000 people. I do know that I called a buddy up of mine that lives over in Maggie Valley. He said that he knows a woman that son works at a hospital, or it may have been the other way around. It was the son or a mom one that worked at this hospital over there, and it was essentially set up as a morgue now. They had trailers, the semi trailers that have like the coolers and stuff in them, and every one of them had thousands of bodies inside each and every one of these trailers. So it's a whole bad ordeal what happened over there. Now I know that they said that some of these bodies were found up in the trees and all this stuff. And I mean, the floodwaters, people don't understand how bad this storm actually was here. Like, I'm talking about floodwaters that's over 10 foot above what actually the flood records were. Like, this was a very, very severe natural disaster what happened here. Now, I think now there could be some instances like, I mean, yeah, a bear could get a hold of somebody. I know coyote would be another thing. And I mean, who's to say that a dog man wouldn't have, ate on some of these people? I mean, it's a highly possible um, scenario. And I do know for a fact there is a video going around of a giant cat that has came out of hiding because of the floodwaters. It was somewhere taken in North Carolina. I mean, this is a huge cat. I don't know. I don't think it's a mountain lion. It looks almost black in the video, so Black Panther, I would guess. So all the stories of these big cats running around here in Appalachia, the Black Panthers, they're real. I'll have to see if I can find that video and send it to you. But I mean, it's very, very possible that a dog man could have fed on some of the corpses. I mean, it's a horrible situation here.
Yeah, that's some gnarly stuff. And like you said, though, with the trees and the water being that high up, that's why they're going to find a lot of debris and individuals up there. And a lot of people don't realize mountain lions actually have never been documented being black. It has something to do with their DNA structure that it's not able to be achieved more or less because it's a generational thing in jaguars, and it also is almost like a genetic mutation in regards of albino. Okay, and only certain animals are albino, and usually they don't survive. But
Yeah,
with the black panther,
melanistic is black, and leucistic or something like that is white. I believe that's the right term for
yes.
it. I think.
So, like, I mean, there are white, very pale alligators and crocodiles that are in captivity that still survive. And there's also some that have been found in caves that are blind and live in that environment. So that's fine. But for the most part, if you were to put a bright white alligator or crocodile out in a river, it's spotted by every predator and people. So it's very easily seen. But jaguars are much larger than a mountain lion, and they can become black, which is why I guess you could be seeing something that is much larger than a mountain lion. The odds are is the jaguar, which a lot of people don't even realize South America is right there. I mean, I don't again know why people seem to consistently think that there's some mysterious border that keeps animals from migrating or just getting around. I mean, there was a mountain lion recently that came from the Midwest that unfortunately was hit on a highway in Pennsylvania, but it was a young male just expanding his territory, and it was seen on a bunch of different trail cams making its way all the way to that area before it was hit. That's a pretty large area to travel. I mean, wolves have like a 300-mile radius, okay, with like a 30-mile feeding radius, but 300 miles basically is their territory to roam and to go chill. And it's really not that far fetched, man, to have a jaguar population make its way out from South America with a lot of the deforestation and all these things. And also, there was a point in time in the 80s where people had this fetish with owning exotic pets and such. And all of a sudden they were not able to anymore, and these large cats were just released out into the wild. And then they were like, yeah, you can't be doing that either, you need to put them in a zoo or euthanize them. But there was a point in time for basically like a few years where there was no distinction as how you had to get rid of your quote unquote large animal or cat. So that's just pretty interesting stuff right there for sure. And I mean, yeah, I believe there's jaguars and black panthers up here, etc. I mean, you have the land bridge right there coming up, just like everything else. And like I stated before, I mean, there's no reason. If a wolf has a 300-mile radius, okay, what would keep them from going down to Tennessee or Kentucky or then back up to Michigan. That's what I'm saying. I mean, sure, they might not just be chilling down in Kentucky and Tennessee that whole time. Might be roaming that area, which is why somebody comes across a large print where they're like, wow, this is bigger than any wolf here. Well, that population of that wolf might not be staying there the whole time. He or she might have just been down there marking its, border to its territory or just checking out the area.
100%. And if a wolf has that big of a territory, imagine how big of a territory a dogman would have, much less a pack of dogmen. They'd have a huge expanse of territory to roam. And speaking of the land bridge that you were talking about, I recently seen a trail cam picture from Alaska. This picture was taken last week. There was a picture of a reindeer on the trail camera, and it was unalived by a tiger. So a tiger crossed over from Asia into Alaska.
Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't it? I mean, tigers are dominant predators. Siberian tiger definitely wasn't the first version of that tiger to evolve. Everything evolves in the warmer environments first and then makes their way up. Okay, so the first version of tigers were a tropical based animal. Same thing with monkeys, yet there are snow monkeys and there is the Siberian tiger. So all those animals, like I said, started off in the warmer environments and then made their way up to where they are now. Of course, why would that tiger not make its way over, to Alaska at similar temperatures and such and time frames to snag and get the food? That's what I try to say to people too that are like, oh, there's no grizzly bears in California. Well, what do you mean, man? You got Canada right up in there, you got Alaska and all this stuff. So as soon as that grizzly bear just comes to the border of California, there's nah, can't go over here. Time to turn around. What?
Yeah, that don't make sense. The animals don't see borders. They're free to roam and live their lives. They just go wherever the food is or territory, water, and take up shop. It's. I mean, they're not like people. They don't see borders or all this stuff. So they have the luxury to live their life as they please, and some people do too. So that's just their choice. Yeah, that's all I got.
Like you just said, the bottom line is there is no, hey, mysterious border. An animal goes where it wants to go. And also, it's a proven fact that animals that have gone extinct in areas, when given the chance to, they'll come back and reclaim it. It's still in their DNA. So if wolves and such roamed through a certain area for millions of years and then, were unalived and forced out of there, that's built basically and bred into them. So when you either reintroduce them or you cut down on the encroachment on them, they surge again. So any animal will take back its habitat if it's willing and able to.
Right, absolutely, 100%. And there's a company that I heard about recently. It's called Colossal Biosciences. They're a bioengineering company that is currently working on bringing back animals such as the woolly mammoth, the dodo, and the thylacine, Tasmanian tiger. I mean, you start bringing things back from extinction. Well, let's just say they made 6 movies on why that's a bad idea. If you get my reference there.
Straight up. It can be definitely good and also bad for sure. So, well, thanks again for popping in tonight, man, and hanging out with all of us because obviously, as stated, you got a ton of stuff going on down there, man, and you're busy in general, but it's always good to sit down with you and pick your mind and figure out what the heck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think the world of you, and I'm sorry I haven't been on here in a couple of weeks, and it's good to be back on here and look forward to the next one. I can't thank everybody enough for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe if you're not. Be sure to like, comment, share this video. It'll help Kenny out a lot.
Thank you for everyone who stopped by tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and share it. Feed the algorithm. And I will catch you on the next one.